Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another Wild Rift video, and in today's video I'll be playing Evelynn. I have some things to say before starting the video actually, and I'm gonna show you the build before starting the video. If you don't care about the things that I have to say and the build, timestamps in the description to go to the gameplay immediately. So the thing that I have to say is I actually added something new to my YouTube channel. As you can see this and then the uploads, and then under the uploads I have playlists. I have added 5 playlists to my YouTube channel, which is a playlist with Dragon Lane videos, mid lane videos, Baron lane, jungle, support. I did this because a lot of people ask me like, Hells, can you make more Baron lane videos, or can you do Fiora, or can you do, So if you're looking for a certain role or a certain champion, like if you want to see Orianna videos, you can just click on the mid lane videos, and then on the right here you can just scroll down and see, you can see what videos I made. And as you can see, Orianna here, and it's very easy, So I hope this is a good addition to my YouTube channel. Also, I'm running a skin giveaway, giving away 10 skins this month. It's almost the end of April, so make sure you put down comments under the videos. So yeah, let's get into the video. About Evelynn. So I have experimented with the Evelynn build. Like I've changed Rabadon for the Infinity Orb, and the reason that I've experimented with is because Infinity Orb is actually quite expensive now. They made the item like 300 gold more expensive. But out of my personal experience, I still believe Infinity Orb is better than Rabadon first item, because Rabadon's passive is really good if you have a lot of ability power already. And basically this item will give you bonus health, bonus ability power. It gives you flat magic penetration, and of course crit damage against enemies below 35% HP. So this is still way better than a Rabadon. And the other thing to note is Infinity Orb is also cheaper than Rabadon. You are probably never gonna get Rabadon's death cap before the first dragon unless you get like 3 kills. However, it is possible to get an Infinity Orb, and you can get this by getting 1 kill and maybe 1 assist. You can get it with 1 kill too, but you have to farm really well. But basically, you can get it. So you start with an Infinity Orb. I start with an Infinity Orb, and Infinity Orb. And then after that, I have also tried Rabadon after that, but no, Lich Bane is just better. And the reason for that is because of your third ability. This item gives you a lot of burst damage. Rabadon is going to give you a little more sustain because it's going to add a lot of damage to your first ability. But Lich Bane is really good, to deal that big burst damage after your third ability. Okay, after these 2 first items, you are already incredibly strong. And as your third item, you'll almost always want to go for Boots of Lucidity. If the enemy is full attack damage, full attack damage, you can go for plated steel caps if you feel like you can utilize the bonus armor. This can be very good because it can buy you it can buy you time when you're diving into the enemies. You can also get Mercury's threats. Only get this if the enemies really have a lot of CC, if they have a lot of stuns, silence, things like that, because if they silence you and stun you, you are not going to be able to use your ultimate, okay? But as I said, 80 or 90% of the games I only Boots of Lucidity. As your enchantment, actually I always go for Proto Belt. 100% of my games I go for Proto Belt. I don't see a lot of Evelynn players do this, but I do it. And let me explain to you why. Proto Belt on Evelynn is amazing. So the way that you have to use it is you use your second ability, which is the heart, the charm. And then, you might be a little far away from the enemy. You can Proto Belt close to them and then hit them. They are never going to expect you like that. The Proto Belt is going to be an amazing gap closer for Evelynn, especially in the late game, guys. Oh my god, so good. After these 3 items, in 90% of your games, you go for Rabadon's death cap. If the enemy has a lot of healing, go for the green book. Okay, only if the enemy has a lot of healing, then you go for the green book. But 90% of the games, Rabadon's death cap. And actually, even if the enemy has a lot of healing, if you're snowballing really hard, so if you're really winning the game hard, it might still be worth it to buy a Rabadon's death cap over the green book, because you're going to be able to one-shot the enemy. Only get Rabadon if the enemy has a lot of healing, if you really feel like you're going to one-shot them. And you can only do this if you're winning really hard. Keep that in mind, guys, because if you're not winning hard, getting a Rabadon is actually throwing the game if the enemy has a lot of healing, because they're just going to heal up when you deal damage. After that, again, it's situational. If does the enemy have a lot of magic resist? Actually, even if they have a little magic resist, it is going to be worth it to go for a void staff as your 5th item. If the enemy has 0 magic resist, if they're a full squishy comp, go for the green book. And then after that, still go for a void staff. You always wanna go for a void staff. Never ever skip this item, guys. Never. Trust me, it's always gonna be worth it to get as your last item. For your runes, Conqueror for sure. It's very easy to proc Conqueror with your first ability. You're gonna get stacks in no time. Here, I like to go for Brutal, just dealing damage. Really, no other rune is good on Evelynn. You just go for Brutal. And here, it kind of depends, but I almost always go for Hunter Titan. You can go for Spirit Walker, but you can't. I really don't like it. I haven't even experimented with the other runes. I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. I haven't even experimented with it because Hunter Titan, the most important thing is the tenacity. So on Evelynn, it's gonna be very easy to kill a lot of enemies because you're playing jungle, of course. So you're gonna rack up that tenacity. What does that do? It reduces the enemy stuns, slows, silences, which is very important when playing Evelynn. This is very important, so always go for Hunter Titan. As your last rune, Hunter Genius. No other rune is good. You can go for Pathfinder, you can, to be able to run around a little faster, but Hunter Genius is just better because it gives you ability haste. Okay, for your spells, Flash and Smite. Always go for Flash. Alright, let's get into the gameplay. Alright, on to the gameplay. So, Evelynn is not broken anymore. And the reason for that is because of the nerf to the Infinity Orb. So Evelynn is still an S tier jungler. Actually, wait, I should make a tier list. Yeah, you know what? If you guys really want to see a tier list, if this video reaches 1000 likes, I'll make a tier list. I'll make a tier list tomorrow and upload it the day after tomorrow. Only if you guys really want to see it. Okay, so when I play Evelynn, let's talk about jungle rotations. I like to start with my blue buff. Sometimes I start at my red buff, and let me actually explain to you how you can decide where to start. So in the beginning of this game, I checked out who my enemy jungler was, and I saw that it was a Lee Sin. So what a Lee Sin can do is he can actually go for your blue buff at minute 1. So if you start on your red buff on Evelynn, it's very risky because the Lee Sin can go for it. The Lee Sin can actually wait and then go for your blue buff. So that's why I started at my blue buff. I don't want to risk the Lee Sin being there, So when do you start at your red buff? Honestly, if you want to end up at the blue side, start at your red buff. Only if you really want to end up at your blue side. If you don't, if you don't have to end up there, just start at your blue. It's often just better to start at your blue because you're going to be able to clear the jungle faster because you have infinite mana. As you can see, what I do on Evelynn, I want to be in the middle at minute 1:25. I want to be here, right? So the Rift Scuttler is up, and as you can see, the Lee Sin is still taking the blue buff. He's very slow. So I'm kind of thinking about flashing over the wall, but now I realize that they have a ward, they have vision. So here I'm analyzing whether or not we can win this early fight. And this is what you should always do, analyze. Don't just go for the fight. So as you can see, I just kind of played it safe. Here I have to flash out. We're going close to our turret. We have a lot of people here right now. They are diving really far, so let's take a look at what's gonna happen. He dived way too far. He got the first blood, but I got a double kill. I'm gonna ask you guys, how do I capitalize on this? Let me know in the comments, what do you need to do in a situation like this where you got a double kill and especially where you killed the enemy jungler? The solution is gonna come after I unpause the video, but I really want to ask you to pause the video and let me know in the comments, to test your knowledge. Okay, let's take a look. What am I gonna do? First of all, I'm gonna take the Rift Scuttler. This is a very important thing for the jungler. It's gonna provide vision to your team and it gives you 120 gold and experience. What am I gonna do next? I'm gonna skip the jungle. I am not gonna backport. Let's take a look. Kinda trying to gank the Yasuo, but this is the most important thing. I am going for the other Rift Scuttler. Yes, if you get an early advantage like that, you have to capitalize on it. And Rift Scuttlers are the easiest way to do that. As you can see, just waiting for my smite and boom, easy smite. The Lee Sin is just kind of crying in a corner right now. I just got 240 gold from those Rift Cutlers. I got a lot of experience, and the enemies are gonna have a really rough time ganking my lane. So take a look at what happens here. This is kind of a sad... This was kind of sad. Yeah, I just died, and I kind of miscalculated it. I thought that I was going to be able to kill the Fiora, but I ulted barely before her, so it was kind of, yeah, it was a fail. It was a really bad dive, to be honest. You know, you should take into consideration that enemies have flash. You know, don't only, like, you know, sometimes your teammates are going to tell you like the enemy Fiora doesn't have flash, then you can do plays like this. Otherwise, you always have to take into consideration that the enemy has a flash. To avoid making mistakes like I just did here. You know, I dived the Fiora. It's true, if the Fiora didn't have flash, it was a free kill. But of course, she flashed and I died unnecessarily, giving the enemy gold, you know. So that was a pretty big mistake from my side. And I really want you guys to learn from a mistake like that too. Okay, let me talk about another mistake that I see happen a lot in jungle, which is... Actually, I'm gonna talk about two mistakes, which are quite the opposite, and I'm gonna explain to you how you can avoid making these mistakes. So the first mistake is, I see a lot of junglers that keep farming and farming and farming and farming. They don't gank and they farm. This is obviously really bad. It's true that you're gaining a lot of golden experience, but your role as a jungler, like, you are supposed to get your team ahead. Gank lanes, get kills, get your team ahead. That's what you need to do. So let me get to the other point, which is ganking too often and leaving your farm. Well, let's take a look at what's gonna happen here first, by the way. Let's take a look at this first. As you can see, they're trying to get the dragon, but I am Evelynn. Easy peasy smite. I'm gonna talk about this later, but first I was talking about the mistakes. So the other mistake is ganking too much. So why is it bad to gank too much? It's bad to gank too much because you are gonna lose golden experience. Unless you're very successful at the ganks, you know, unless you keep getting kill after kill after kill after kill. But it's likely that this is not gonna happen. If you keep trying to go for ganks all the time, like, you're gonna waste your time. Because if you're unable to get a kill, you're really gonna get punished if you keep going for those ganks. Because while the enemy is farming, he's getting a lot of golden experience, he's gonna get ahead in levels, while you are gonna be behind. So you have to find a balance between the two. And what I really like to do when I play jungle is, if I do very aggressive ganking, you know, if I really want to gank a lot, what I often do is I only take my red buff and my blue buff. I skip the rest and I go for ganks. Because the red buff and the blue buff are really important. They give a lot of gold, a lot of experience, and especially the buffs. And what are these buffs gonna do? They're gonna make you stronger, thus making you greater at ganking the enemy. So if you really want to play aggressive, only take the red buff and the blue buff, and then go for ganks. And if you want to play like absolutely extremely aggressive, only take the blue buff or only take the red buff, depending on your champion. If you're playing Evelynn, only take the blue buff and go for ganks. If you're playing Lee Sin, for example, you can only take the red buff and then go for ganks as well. I don't really recommend you to play like this unless you really feel like you can keep getting kills. Otherwise, just, you know, basically the farm that you want to get are the red buff and the blue buff. And then, how do I really show it to you? Yeah, so the red buff and the blue buff. You don't want to get this big brown fat guy, because the big brown fat guy is a waste of time. Let me explain. The big fat brown guy has like 3000 HP, and it only gives you like 100 gold and a little experience. You could much rather spend your time killing the wolves or the other ones at the red side, you know. These give you more gold and more experience, and it's gonna cost you less time to kill it. And here, you know, just catching out the enemy, as you can see. I still have my ultimate, so I can play very aggressively. So a thing to note on Evelynn is don't use your ultimate unless it's necessary to get a kill. You know, if you can get a kill without your ultimate, do it. Because your ultimate is a game-changing ability. This is the whole point of Evelynn, the ultimate, right? Your ultimate is gonna allow you to dive really deep into the enemy and assassinate a target. Like, you can actually dive into the enemy heart and assassinate the enemy ADC. Take a look at this. Boom. This is what you can do with the ultimate. You're invisible. You are an assassin. And as you can see, you know, I'm playing very aggressive. I'm taking fights. I'm ganking, but I'm still going for my farm. I am not ganking over and over and over again. I am only going for the important farm. So Rift Herald is up, and I want to rotate here. As you can see, the Fiora is very low. The enemies have no idea that I'm here. This is a perfect moment to gank the enemy. However, it doesn't really seem like we can do too much. You know, I actually didn't take a good trade here. But, you know, you often want to be on the side where the objective is at. So if the dragon is up, you want to be at the dragon side. Because if you show yourself on the other side, then the enemy can rush the dragon. What does that mean? They can rush it and they can smite it, because your team is not going to be able to kill it because they have no smite. You are the smite. You are a walking smite. So you don't want the walking smite to be on the other side of the objective. Now Rift Herald is a different story. Let's take a look at this. Take a look at how sneaky I am. I predicted that the Fiora was going to backport over there. That was so disgusting, honestly. That was so disgusting. Oh man, okay. What was I talking about? Yeah, about objectives. So, Dragon is very important, but Rift Herald is not as important. You can be on the other side of the Rift Herald. You know, as I said, it's not as important, but Dragon, no. You almost never want to be on the other side when the Dragon is up, because as I said, the enemies can just rush it, and they are gonna get it. Unless they really suck, but they are gonna get it because they have a smite. So yeah, here, you know, of course I'm smiting it. Keep your finger on the smite so you can easily smite the dragon. The Fiora is actually playing really well, as you can see. Like, the Fiora is definitely not a bad player. Could be problematic in the late game because Fiora is actually one of the hardest counters to Evelynn. I think it might actually be the hardest counter to Evelynn. Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell you guys how to counter Evelynn too. This is a thing a lot of people have asked me to do in the videos. You know, when I make a video on a certain champion, you guys ask me, how do you counter this champion? You know, I explain to you how to play him, but I'm also gonna try to explain to you how to counter. Okay, how do you counter Evelynn? First of all, Fiora. Fiora is a beautiful counter to Evelynn, especially because of Fiora's second ability. If you play Fiora well, you can counter the charm of Evelynn and stun her and kill her. And the thing about Fiora is too, you can easily catch out an Evelynn, and once you have caught out the Evelynn on Fiora, you can just kill her with your ultimate, with your third ability to slow the Evelynn, with your first ability to dash, you know. Another good counter to Evelynn is Galio. Galio is very nice because if an Evelynn dives you, you can taunt the Evelynn, you can stun the Evelynn, everything. Another good counter to Evelynn, as a support pick that counters Evelynn, is Rakan. You might be thinking like, what the hell are you talking about? How does Rakan counter Evelynn? Guys, Rakan's first ability grants healing. Rakan's second ability can knock you up. But the second ability is actually not a counter to Evelynn. But Rakan's third ability gives a shield to his allies. You know, it's gonna shield them when you're attacking them. And the most annoying thing is the ultimate. The ultimate is gonna charm you. So when you, as an Evelynn, dive the enemy, the Rakan can first of all hit his first ability on you, heal up his team very easily because you're diving in the middle of them. Secondly, he can shield an ally 2 times that you're diving. And third of all, he can use his ultimate to charm you and kill you. So yeah, keep that in mind. You know, when picking Evelynn, keep in mind that there are some counters to it. Another counter to Evelynn is Gragas, by the way. Gragas is an ultimate hard counter to Evelynn because you're not going to be able to assassinate the Gragas. When you dive the enemy Gragas, he can just use his third ability on you, stun you, use his second ability, first ability, everything. Gragas is also a hard counter to Evelynn. And the champions that I just mentioned are absolute hard counters to Evelynn. There are obviously also some champions that are good against Evelynn, but if you want to know hard counters, the champions that I just mentioned are absolute hard counters to Evelynn. So take a look, I'm against the Fiora here, and it's not gonna be easy to kill him. I just outplayed him so hard. So when you play against the Fiora as an Evelynn, you have to play it differently from any other champion. Let me explain to you why. Because Fiora has her second ability. And this is an important thing to avoid when you're playing Evelynn. You don't want to hit your charm when she has a second ability. Also, when you use your ultimate, wait. It's the same as when you're playing Darius against Fiora. Don't immediately use your ultimate. Wait and bait out the Fiora's second ability, and after she uses her second ability, then you can kill her. As you saw under the turret, I didn't immediately use my ultimate. I waited for her second ability, and after that, I hit my ultimate, and that's how you outplay a Fiora. So here, as you can see, you know, the Baroness of... I kind of wanted to do it, but my teammates didn't follow up. So here, I want to play extremely aggressive. So what am I doing? Only taking the blue buff and then going to the dragon. Don't take your other jungle if you want to play extremely aggressive, because then it's actually a waste of time. Like as you can see here, you know, I just took my blue buff, nothing else from the whole jungle. Just going for fights immediately. So the dragon is up, and I want to rush it because I'm playing Evelynn. I can outsmite the Lee Sin very easily, you know. I have my ultimate and smite. And this is yet another very important thing to note about Evelynn. You can outsmite any champion, except for Jinx. Except for Jinx. You know, Jinx Rocket actually outsmites you. So keep that in mind. Besides that, you're going to be able to outsmite every single champion and every single jungler. Because your ultimate plus smite deals immense damage in the late game. So, you know, you can utilize that to just force dragons, you know. Even though the enemy is all up, you can force dragons, because even if the enemy Lee Sin wants to steal it, he's not going to be able to steal it, because you're just going to outsmite him. The Lee Sin has so much defense. Wow. I didn't even kill him with that. The Lee Sin must have like two magic defense items, because I'm level 13, but yet I am unable to one-shot him. I didn't even kill him. So yeah. Here, you know, we're just getting the mid lane turret because we can. However, I think it would have been nice if one person would have split pushed in the game here. Because I see a lot of people just push 5-man mid lane, but you don't always want to ignore the side lanes, because the side lanes are actually the two lanes that apply the most pressure. It's funny because you might think the mid lane inhibitor turret is the most important, but I'm gonna tell you right now that the mid lane inhibitor turret is the least important. Why? Because the mid lane is very easy to reach for the enemy, you know. They walk through the mid lane, it's very easy. And they can just clear it out, and the funny thing is they're gonna get a lot of golden experience from your buffed minion waves. Because the big cannon minion, the big minion up front gives a lot of experience, and it gives 120 gold. However, if you push a side lane turret, you know, wow, look at that damage, what? If you push a side lane turret, well, what am I gonna say? Brain fart, brain fart. Wow, what happened? If you push us, what? I can't think. If you push a side lane turret, it's really hard to reach. Because let's say you've pushed the top lane inhibitor turret, and there is a dragon up on the bot lane. So the enemy has to deal with the top lane while dragon is up. And when you see an enemy in the top lane, you can force a 5 versus 4 on the dragon pit, right? Because, you know, you're gonna have an advantage. But if you've taken the mid lane inhibitor, it doesn't really provide you with much of an advantage, because, you know, they can just clear it out. It's the mid lane. They can walk to Baron and Dragon, whatever. But side lanes are more important. So thank you guys so much for watching. I wonder if this video is gonna reach 1000 likes, so I might have to make a tier list tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys in the next Wild Rift video. Bye bye.